Hello, and welcome again to the Eddie Blues Online Music Lessons. This video will be covering the fingerboard, and hopefully, we cover the whole thing. And before we get started, I would like to remind you that if you intend to look at these videos as they're uploaded, I suggest you could press the subscribe button or the subscribe sign in the lower right hand corner of your screen. That way you can be given a heads up as I upload these videos. Okay, so again, this is very fundamental, as far as the level of lessons that I'll be given, because it hits at the core of music and what we're actually dealing with in terms of the alphabet and the sequence of the alphabet, because essentially the fingerboards are consisted of strings that are basically a sequence of these alphabetical notes. Okay, so to start, I would just like to point out to you that the musical alphabet, because it's important that you have an understanding of the alphabet to understand the sequence of notation, and which letters are actually used as notes, because the musical alphabet is only consisted of 7 letters, which are from A to G, and then it repeats. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And when we get to G, then we return back to A. So in other words, there are only 7 letters in the musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to A. And what this is basically a repetition of the letters based upon where you start, so that if you start from A, you go to A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. If you start from B, you go from B to B, repeating the same 7 letters. So that B to B would be B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And from C to C, similarly, a repetition of these 7 letters. So essentially, we're just rehashing these 7 letters over and over based upon where we start off from to where we end up. And when we actually do a sequence of letter from A to A, we would call the first A as sort of like the root A, and then we could then say from A to A would involve 8 notes, so that the 8th note, the subsequent A would be the 8th note in that series, okay, and would in turn be called an octave. An octave is an interval which is essentially an eighth apart from the starting note. And similarly, if we start from any one of these letters and go to the repeat to a subsequent octave, they're all 8th intervals of an 8th apart. So that when we look at the instrument, the fingerboard of this guitar, we have 6 strings, which are again named in the same alphabetical letter as the musical alphabet. So we have the low E, A, we have D, G, B, and the high E. Okay, so the top string is a low E, and the bottom string is a high E. And the fingerboard by itself, without the strings, is essentially just a piece of a wooden extension of the guitar. It's when we apply the strings to this fingerboard, then the fingerboard, in essence, take on the sequence of notation based upon what string, which one of these strings, we decide to ascend. When we move up the fingerboard like this, we are ascending the scale. Any move from the left to the right on this fingerboard would involve an ascending of the musical scale. Okay? So, if we start on E, okay, the practice is to, or the custom is to start by calling the string without any finger applied to the fingerboard open. So if we hit the E without any finger applied to this fingerboard, we're in essence hitting open E, okay? Meaning that there's no finger applied to the fingerboard. Open A, open D, again, no finger, we're just hitting the strings without any finger being applied to the fingerboard. Open G, open B, and open E, okay? Now, when we decide to move up the fingerboard, we would essentially count, ascend in the musical alphabetical manner, meaning that after we go from E, we go to F, then we go to G, A, B, C, D, E, and each one of those alphabetical letter in the musical alphabet is separated by what we call frets on the fingerboard. So if you notice, we have these little hedges here, like little we have these like vertical little divisions that we call fret, look like metal. Okay, so that these essentially subdivide this fingerboard into a series of fret, which in turn we use to name these notes as we ascend the scale. So again, if we start on the first string, again, remember we started on the E. We pluck the string, no finger applied, open E, we apply the first finger to the first fret. First fret, F, and we go G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Then when we get to F up here, we again repeat the same alphabetical order. F, G, A, B, C, and we go all the way to the very end of the fingerboard. Okay. Now I want to point out, the arrangement of this fingerboard is, as you may know, looking at a piano, we have what we call the sort of like the whole step, half step, and whole step, half step, whole step, half step, all the way up the fingerboard. And you probably know about those sharps, and so that when we go from F, when we go from E, we go F, we go F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, E, F. Okay, again, I will call that sequence out again for you. E, open E, no finger, open E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. If you listen to me carefully, you would, and you could also, verify this for yourself, that there are natural sharps for each alphabetical letter in that 7 alphabetical sequence. There are natural sharps for the F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. Except for B, we go from B to C, and for E to F. Okay, every alphabetical note has a natural sharp structurally on this fingerboard, which would be equivalent to the black keys on the piano. And so in the same sequence, we have a natural sharp for all those notes except between E and F and B and C. So that when we get to E, the natural sharp would be F. Okay? And when we get to B, the natural sharp would be C. So that the sharp B, we press, we pluck C. To sharp E, we pluck F. Okay? That order of sequence is the same throughout the musical experience. That is true wherever you start. That is the sequence of whole step or half step sequence that we will follow. So that now we're going to move to the next string. And as I said, when you go from the open E to the E up here, following that sequence, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, you continue in that same sequence. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp. And so the fingerboard is just, as I said, clearly a repetition. You repeat from the note to the octave, and then you will once again repeat the same order of notes in the sequence. When we move to the A, we hit A open, then we go A sharp, B, again. After B comes C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. After E come F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, again. A open, A here. We again, once again, continue A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. Okay? It's just a matter of what string you're starting from, and you would in turn follow that order. Okay, so then when we go to the next string, which is D, we go D open, D sharp, E, F, again, after E come F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B, C. Okay? After A sharp, B. Okay, then we go to G. Again, we start in G, so we go G. G has a natural sharp. G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, E, so on and so forth. I am just moving on in the interest of time. Okay, then we go to B. Okay, again, after B comes C, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Again, after E come F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, G sharp. Then we go to the bottom string, which again is the high E, and we follow the same order. E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B, C, C sharp. Okay? So as you can see, it's the same order of sequence alphabetical sequence just depends upon which string you start off on, and you would then follow accordingly that sequence, bearing in mind that every key, every note has a natural sharp except for between B and C and F, E and F. Okay, so again, that is the structure of the, the fingerboard for any instrument. That is the sequence in which the note flow, okay, by whole step and half step. Okay, the half step is the smallest interval. Okay, and again, when we talk about intervals in music, we have what we call intervals, which is essentially the distance between notes. Okay, so that from F to G would involve a whole step, meaning that a whole step, which in turn we could look at as a fraction in terms of consisted of two half steps. And from G to A, again, another whole step, okay, because between G and A, we have G sharp. If we move from G to G sharp, which in essence, which in turn it will be a half step, and we move another half step to A, that would complete a whole step move. Similarly, if we move from A to B, which is a whole step, but if we move from A to A sharp and B, then that move will be consisted of two whole step, two half step, which in turn completes a whole step, right? And then we go from B. B has no natural sharp, so that the sharp of B would be C. And so from B to C is just a half step, so that's just a half step. To complete a whole step from B, we would have to sharp C. Okay, and similarly between where that exception occur between the B and C and the E and F, similarly to complete a whole step from E, we would have to go to F sharp, because from E to F is a half step, and so we would have to sharp F, so that from E to F sharp is a whole step. Okay, and so essentially, as I said, those are the smallest intervals in music. When we talk about intervals, we have intervals as large as a 13th intervals, and so on. So, which would involve the 13 chords and so on. Okay, so again, this fingerboard, it takes on a meaning, an alphabetical sequential meaning, when we place the strings. The strings will always come with a certain name. Okay, they're going to be either an E string, B string, G, D, A, or low E. And it's from those strings where we put them, and we actually apply our fingers. It's from those strings that the scales will take on its meaning, okay, or the sequence will flow. So if we start from E, we will go as though we're starting from E in the musical alphabet: E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. That's going in half steps, okay. When we include the sharps of a note, when we go from F to F sharp, we are essentially moving by half step. When we go from F to G, that would involve a whole step. From G to A, a whole step. From A to B, a whole step. From B to C, a half step. And so we could either move by whole step, half step, or some other bigger intervals that we will subsequently get into. Okay, so what can I say? So again, the musical alphabet is only consisted of 7 letters. There's no H note. There's no F note. There's no J note, no I note. There's no M note. Only from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to A. Or if we start from B, we go B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Or from C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Or from D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And so on. No M note, no N note, no T note, or anything like that. Okay? Now, what I want to, in the next few minutes we have, I'll just like to hit on the major scales. Similarly, you will learn that there are some scales. We have scales that has natural sharps and natural flats. And so, like for instance, the F major scale, there is no F flat major scale. Okay, F flat would essentially be E, but you would not come across a piece of music that would have an F sharp key signature. Okay, but because F, the scale of F major has 1 flat. Now we have F sharp major, F major, we have G major, we have G flat major, we have A major, we have A flat major, and so one might say, well, why don't we have G sharp major? Well, to do that would just to say, well, inharmonically, G sharp is essentially A flat. But you would not come across a piece of music with a key signature of G sharp. It would instead be written in A flat. But essentially, as I said, when you start understanding music theory, on a more advanced level, you'd understand that G sharp is essentially A flat. So inharmonically, it would be the same scale as A flat. But as far as a key signature, there are only a few key signatures that I use, and the convention has been to in the case of F, which has 1 flat, that's it. There's no F flat keys. There are F sharp keys. There's a G major key scale, which has 1 sharp, but in G flat, but there's no F sharp G sharp scale, because G sharp in essence would be A flat. But again, I'm not gonna go any farther than that, other than to say that when you start learning these scales, just take them as given, and as you get more advanced, you would start understanding perhaps the inharmonic way of looking at them, which essentially means that G flat is essentially F sharp, and A flat, or A flat would be in turn G sharp, and so on. So there are a lot of little concepts that are at first not too clear, and I'm sure that with time, as you sort of like advance with the theoretical aspect of the music, a lot of these things will become more self-explanatory. Okay, so again, this video, as I said, was just to cover the keyboard, the fingerboard, and you can pretty much pick up the fingerboard, the guitar, and so long as you follow that sequence, just ascend each string and each one of these strings, in that same sequence all the way to the very end, you will be, running in the properly. You will be actually, alphabetically, ascending these strings. just make sure you hit every fret, every space, because you're either moving whole step or half step, okay? Which, as I said, the whole step would include 2 half steps. The whole step would be from F to G, and the half step would be from F to F sharp, G, and G to A whole step, or G to G sharp A. And you ascend in that same order, and when you feel that you're comfortable enough, then you come back. In other words, you descend, meaning ascend, descend, okay? Come back down, descending, ascending. And when you're descending, you can again come back in the same order, so that if we go from E to E, we go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, or we go E, D sharp, D, C sharp, C, B, A sharp, A, G sharp, G, F sharp, F, E. Okay, in that same order. Go ascending, you descend, come back down in the same order. When you get to the octave of the open string, like in the case of E to E here, when you feel comfortable, then you try to go all the way in the same order, because when you get to the octave here, the E here, when you decide to go to the very end, you're going to proceed in that same order: E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp. Okay, the same sequence. You run them the same way. Okay, so I will leave you with that, and hopefully, that is something that you can work on. And all you need to remember is the fact that there are only 7 letters in the musical alphabet, from A to G. And when you get to G, then it repeats, goes back to A. Okay, I'm sorry about this kind of interruption here. I got my phone, and it's just constantly, sort of like just sagging downwards. So I'll leave you with that. And as I said, just follow the sequence of the alphabet, and you run the alphabet in whole step or half step, meaning from F to G, G to A to B, B to C sharp, or B to C, C to D, D to E, and back. E, D, C, B, A, G, F. And then you also would run them in half step mode. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Similarly, you start on any string, you run A open, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, and so on. Okay, you do that up and down, ascending, descending, until you feel comfortable with this fingerboard and the sequence of notation. Okay, again, I hope that's been helpful, and once again I remind you that it's if you want to be informed about these videos as I upload them, you need to press the subscription sign in the lower right hand corner of your screen. All right, again, thank you, and until next time, take care.